Most College 15 years later. Should come back and share with us the great moments of this event.
I'll be back. Thank you very much.
Also, after that, then a certificate and a most College.
Has been on our to-do list. For some reason, we hadn't gotten to the levels we have gotten to. Therefore, I want to take the opportunity to thank everybody in your different capacities, whatever you did, to ensure that we get to this moment. Before I make the pronouncement, I would like to inform you that this is just a part of the very many activities that the Federation is undertaking. We are an institution that is strategic. We think through the steps we take, and the success we normally get is not random. It's well thought. We burn candle, we think, we read, we consult, and we're in a good place when we come out with a program. This particular program is part of the bigger mission, the bigger vision. As FUFA, we want to be the #1 football nation in Africa, on and off the pitch. That's what we dream to do. But for us to be able to get there, we need to do certain things that we have not been doing right. In the beginning, we had problems that we had to deal with. The monkey to qualify for the Africa Cup of Nations. Every president of the federation was being judged whether you have succeeded or not if Uganda did not or indeed went to the Africa Cup of Nations. We achieved that, and we have been consistent. We said that is not what we should be judged for. But we wanted the monkey off our back so that we can be able to think. Now we started engaging into youth competitions. Since 2015, we started with the FIFA Juniors League. And for us to be able to compete and be able, Ghana are doing, if we don't do it, then we are not able to compete with them. They are having players who are playing in the top leagues in the world. Now, if you don't have players in the top leagues in the world, it's always going to be very difficult to compete with these players. That's the reality. But how do we get players into the top leagues in the world? You must identify them early. You must develop them intentionally. That's when they will have a chance to be able to participate in those big leagues. Now, as a federation, we came out with what we are calling the technical master plan. The objective of the master plan is to create that player we are looking for those players. And inside the master plan, there are so many things, but I'll just concentrate on the institutions or the entities that we are supposed to deal with. And these are the academies. That for a player to be top level, like I said, must be identified as early as 10, 11 years. And must start the P1 of football up the University of Football in terms of development. But we are aware that as a player is growing up, this player must also get formal education for the player to be a complete player. That's why when we have arranged the academy system, we have what we call the soccer programs. Those ones are all over the country. They will be all over the country. But we believe that talents will be identified from the soccer programs and be taken into what we are calling the grade 3 academies. And these grade 3 academies should be scattered around the country as much as we can. This could be private. Anybody can, and we have licensed a number of them. Then we have the grade 2 academies. These are the ones that are professional clubs. So some private individuals who have the ability to have the qualities of the grade 2. And then we shall have the grade 1 academy, which is the National Football Academy, which will be operated and run by the Federation. Now, I want to come to the schools of excellence. Aware that individuals are going to run academies across the country. We wanted as a federation to have our own academies within the regions. That's why the School of Excellence program is born. And let us engage with the schools because they have what we want and we go to them with certain things. For example, we know that schools have the children, they have the education environment, they have accommodation, they have the beaches. What an environment. That's almost the same environment that any academy should have. Therefore, we went through a longer process by asking people to schools that if you are interested, can you apply? And very many schools applied. I think we had over 46 schools that successfully applied. 58 that successfully applied. We met you in a group and we said, guys, this is what we intend to bring, this is why we are doing this. And our inspectors went through these schools to make sure that do we really have what we are looking for? Much as you might be interested in applying, but do you really have what we are looking for? And at the end of the exercise, we have ended up with a list of schools that have what we want, and that's why we are here on this journey, to make sure that we conclude an arrangement of our engagement. At this moment, I would like also to inform you that we have been strategic to get at least one school in each of the 8 regions of FUFA for the boys players, and also one school in each of the combined regions. That is the 4 combined regions for us to be able to get the school for the girls. What we have done for the girls is that Northern and West Nile, we've been able to get one school. Northeast and Eastern, one school. Uganda and Kampala, one school. And then Kitara and Western, one school. That is for the girls. Now for the boys, we have been able to get at least one school in each of the regions apart from Kitara, where evaluation is still going on, but we couldn't wait for one school because we need to be moving. I also want to inform you that our strategy is that the schools of excellence will also get another certificate as academies at the level of grade 3. Because for you in the Ugandan law today, to be able to teach football, definitely you will need to have that license of an academy. But also within our rules, academies have a certain level of protection in terms of ownership of these players. So what is going to happen is that we have our scouts across the region. If I can use the example of Laibi, we have scouts in all the districts of northern Uganda. What are they looking for? They are looking for talent. And the moment they identify this talent, and we try it out, and we be sure that these are the ones that we want to take to the next level, those are the ones that we shall be able to take Laibi College. And I'm saying this for everybody too. I'm just saying Laibi as an example. Now, when these talents go into the school, they are going to be students like any other student in the school. We will expect, according to the memorandum we want to sign, that the school will give us up to 30 bursaries where these students will be able to study. The federation will take certain responsibilities that are in the MOU, and the school will also take certain responsibilities. Now, these students, once they're in the school, the federation will take the responsibility of the scholastic materials. Basically, this federation is going to act like the parents. The only thing we would expect is the bursary for us to be able to have these students there. And once they are there, they are also entitled to play in all the schools competitions as they exist. The federation is going to hire the coaches, hire and pay the technical persons that are going to be in this School of Excellence program. We'll definitely ask the school, again in this MOU we want to sign, to allow these particular students that program to take place within the school. We will agree on how this program is scheduled such that it fits within the school program. We expect these students to be allowed to participate in different programs of the schools of excellence. They might be called to go to National Football Academy, or some of them. They might be called to go to the national teams, the underage national teams. We expect a cooperation from the schools to understand that these students, they are not special students, but they are students on an elite path. The other benefit is that as a federation, we are interested to ensure that we have at least one pitch in the school which is allocated for this program. Of course, it might be used for other functions, but we don't expect it to be used for functions that will degrade the pitch itself. We have been to some of the schools, and during visitation day, cars are parked onto the pitches. I think the federation wants to spend some money to make sure that this pitch is in certain condition, then we expect that that must also be protected. We also bring in footballing materials. Of course, the balls and the equipment that is needed will definitely be brought by the federation. And like I said, we expect that the coaches or the technical persons who will be paid by the federation will be the ones that will be given the responsibility of conducting the footballing program in the school. But they will also be available for working on the other sports programs because they are paid a salary. So whether they are inter houses, whether the school is participating in certain competitions that are not necessarily for the School of Excellence program, we expect them to be available and provide a service at no extra pay. Without writing, we expect that there should be a program about nutrition. Because the player who is growing up at that level, we want to monitor right from nutrition to ensure that they are feeding the way they should be fed, so that they grow up to be the players we are looking for. We also expect that once in a while, under proper arrangements, one of the schools will provide itself for us with the facilities during the holiday, where probably the other schools, the other students from the other schools of excellence across the country might come and camp in this one school and probably conduct a competition. So we'd expect that we would access the facilities, the dormitories, and the pitches without extra pay. However, of course, the federation will take responsibility for the feeding and the other associated costs that may arise. And this will definitely be planned long enough for anybody to be able to prepare accordingly. But let me mention this before I forget. That one of the biggest benefits is that today, players are transferring at very big sums of money. And if they are captured early, the clubs where they are coming from, or the academies where they are coming from, are direct benefits of these resources that will come out of the sale of these players. It's not far-fetched, it is actually happening. That once a player transfers, when he's still in the academy and probably gets a contract out of this country, going to another academy or into another club, there are going to be transfer fees that are involved. Why am I saying it's not far-fetched? It has already happened. We have seen players that have transferred, and big sums of monies have been involved, and the beneficiary schools may not have been the ones that benefited from it. We have had a player transfer for $1 million. We have had players transfer for $300,000, $200,000. So I'm saying it's not far-fetched. But in this arrangement, the federation will work with the School of Excellence where the player is coming from for the benefit. So the federation is going to give exposure to this child. We'll take this into the national teams, probably compete in the World Cup, depending on how good the players end up being. But once there is any sale of this player, the federation and the school will definitely partake on this arrangement. But also, even if the player leaves the school and said joins a local club, I'll talk about maybe Express Football Club, but eventually transfers to another club, say in Europe, at maybe the age of 20, when he has well left the school, the formula of compensation allows that there is somebody which eventually comes back, and FIFA goes looking backwards to see which are the academies that this player actually went through. Again, there is also another factor, and it's not far-fetched. We have seen small clubs in this country benefiting from transfers. Our former captain, Ibrahim Sekaja, when he transferred, the money eventually came to clubs way back in Kawempe, Kayofa, State House, to benefit from this transfer. That is an international regulation. It is up to FIFA to give information which academies this particular player went through. And the countries that have done this kind of identification, direct development, they sell 40 to 50 players every year. It's happening in Ghana, it's happening in Senegal. So it's not far-fetched. The only challenge is that we have not been doing the right things. Saying that we are also having conversations with the Ministry of Education and Sports in terms of the curriculum. It is very difficult, and we must understand, for a player to take on an elite path and also take on the education curriculum as it is. Because the elite path is very demanding. It has subjects, it has practicals, it's actually an educational path of its own. Now the hours we need have been calculated. That a player to be able to actually graduate and go into the English Premier League, he must have accumulated about 10,000 hours of training and competition. You cannot do it without accumulating them. So how are you going to accumulate them when you're also going to do physics, chemistry, mathematics, and then in the evening, get some few hours and go and run around. You will never reach. But we're having a conversation with the minister saying we need to create an elite path, a curriculum for an elite student in as far as sport is concerned. Yes, be able to undertake some of the subjects because we want a complete human being at the end of the day, but also tailor it to make this human being able to achieve what they may want to achieve out of their talent. So I want to congratulate the schools that are here, that have been invited, that according to our analysis, according to our evaluation, we believe that we can have a journey. And I want us to walk this journey long enough. We are going to sign MOUs of things we have already discussed with you before. There is nothing new that's coming through. And this will be, I think the first one will end on the 30th of November 2028. But basically, we want to just be at a point of evaluation to see. But our engagement, to make real sense, we don't need less than 10 years for us to be able to see what we are doing. So this is not a marriage of 1 year, it's a marriage of 10 years. But our lawyers have advised that after every 30th November 2028, and then after that, every other 3 years, for us to be able to evaluate and see where are we going. Are we on the right path? Can we improve in this area? Or are we asking for too much? Or are we giving less than we should be giving? We believe that if you support us, we believe that we'll be able to create that player, the X factor we are looking for. Finally, some players may be picked and taken to the National Football Academy. From there, they will remain students in terms of our regulations, and that's our engagement we're having with the USSA and other institutions, that the National Academy itself is not a school. But because it's going to be somewhere fixed, these students might take so many hours out of school. But we want to ensure that there's continued education so that they're not missing on education. So wherever the academy will be located, the National Football Academy will be located, it will be near one of the schools here. We will find that even if a student is from Libya, will come to the National Football Academy, and this will be few because maybe in the 30 you may not have one, or you may have one or two. But eventually will come in the National Football Academy, and then we'll go to school. In that school of excellence, let's say if we did in Jeru, in Ginger, we'll have that arrangement with Ginger SS. And this student of Laibi, with the student of Laibi, will go to school in Ginger SS. We are understanding that we are doing the same curriculum. So at the end of the day, but this student still belongs to Laibi College. But because he has gone to the National Football Academy and we want education to continue, we'll definitely make sure that we deal with one of the schools that is in the neighborhood. But also, we might decide to bring teachers into the National Football Academy, because what we are insisting on is that these students must continue as academic students to be able to perform, undertake the examinations in the current system until we succeed in the ministry, to be able to make complete players. We have had challenges with students, with players who have not taken on the full path of education. Very talented, but very difficult to manage. So we believe that education is not something we are going to drop if we are looking at an elite path. So at this moment, and if I'm wrong, correct me, the following schools are the ones that, on the side of the boys, we will be signing with the Memorandum of Understanding for the School of Excellence, and that will be between FUFA and the school. For the side of the boys, Standard High School, Zana. You don't need a round of applause for this. Major campus. I should put major campus. And we believe this will help us in what we are calling the Ugandan region. Then Chiguli SS, also for the boys in Kampala region. Then we will have St. Kagwa for the western region. Then we'll have Ginger SS for the eastern region. Have St. Joseph's College Laibi for the northern region. St. Charles Rwanga for the West Nile region. Then we'll have Okedia Comprehensive for the northeast region. Those are 7 schools, and Chitara region, like I mentioned, we are still doing evaluation, and as soon as we complete, we'll definitely bring them on board. And like I explained, our scouts will look for talent, we'll take them through the grilling and make sure that the ones we bring from the districts that compose Karamoja, Teso and Sebei, our center will be in Bukedia Comprehensive School. For the districts that compose Acholi and Lango, we will take those students to St. Joseph's College, Laibi. For the districts that compose West Nile, we will take those to St. Charles Rwanga Koboko. For the districts that compose Angole and Chigezi, we will definitely go to St. Kagwa. And for the districts that compose Busoga, Bukedi and Bugisu, definitely use Ginger SS. For the districts that compose Uganda, we go to Standard High School, Zana, Ndeje campus. And for Chitara, which is Bunyoro, Toro, and Kasese, that's where we are still doing the evaluation. Now, on the side of the girls, we will have Amos College for the districts of Karamoja, Teso, Sebei, Bugisu, Busoga, and Buke. Girls. And our scouts in those areas will try to see that we get the best talented girls. And they will be centered at Amos College. And then Bishop Komboni College, Kambuga. This will be the one for Angore, Chigez, Munyoro, Toro, and Kasese. It's called Bishop Kongole College, Kambuga. Okay. Then for Kampala and the districts of Uganda, Hopeful Future Senior Secondary School will be the center for the girls that will have been identified from these districts. And of course, Wisdom High will be for the districts of Lamu, Acholi, and the entire West Nile. That's where we expect the girls to be. I want to conclude once again by congratulating you by saying that this is just the beginning. After signing this, the next actionable issue is that our teams are going to do the identification, and we'll work with you even in the identification. And some students you never know might actually be already in your school, and that's not a problem. But we have to agree on the 30 that are on the program. And once we have identified those ones, taken them through clinics, we'll definitely come to you and say these are the students, these are the coaches, and this is the curriculum, and this is the program. I want to assure you as the Federation that this is one of our flagship programs, and we sincerely believe that from the students we take to the schools of excellence is where we shall pick the students who go to the National Football Academy. And that's where the national underage teams will be picked. And I can tell you, our experience is that the underage national team players eventually end up as the senior players and eventually end up in the top clubs. It will be good, Mr. Mukisha, like he said, that as a federation we are going to give focus to these schools. Using our television power, using our media power, we are going to focus on these schools to the point that not only the program, but even the sports days and the sports activities, because the engagement is not just about to bring students there, but we want a relationship that adds a lot of value even to the other students in the school who may not necessarily be part of the program. If you look at the MOU, we are also going to pick up students in the school to be taught other footballing functions. For example, coaching. These days they are career coaches. You don't have to retire from football to be a coach. There are those who have now started taking on coaching as a career. We are looking for referees. We are looking for commentators. We are looking for administrators. The Federation will undertake these courses in the school to try and pick up some of those students who may not necessarily be on the program. Schools. And I'm talking about students and teachers, not just the students. We have also put in the MOU that there will always be one match, at least one match, with some of the clubs in the country and the match being played in the school, or one of the national teams, the underage national teams, or the regional teams, whenever. And we believe that such matches should be able to bring together the old boys, to bring together the parents, to bring together everybody to celebrate our relationship. I want to thank you so much, and if there are any clarifications to be made, we will be here to take them. But after that, I think Mr. Hussein will give us what is happening next. Thank you so much. God bless us for both and my country, for our country.
Nurture a holistic player, whereby we are looking at having a player who is